Hi everyone, it's Miss Brenner. I'm here to go over our Week 11 agenda for Science Fiction Online. So as per usual, these assignments should be completed on a weekly basis in order to have a successful grade in our online course. We are officially in marking period 2 at this point with these assignments. Please make sure that you listen to this video so that way you'll understand the directions for the different assignments and there isn't any kind of confusion. If you should feel confused about the assignments, please make sure that you send me an email so that way I can clarify. Alrighty, so let's look at our expectations for this week. Students will be reviewing monster notes and continuing to explore the horror genre through short stories written by well-known authors within the genre. We're going to continue to cover literary lenses, author's tone, theme, and motif, as well as the different types of monsters. We're going to identify stylistic qualities within a text using literary lenses and analyze author's tone and purpose. Some essential questions that we will be looking at are: how can the use of literary lenses change our interpretation of a text? Why might an author use tone to persuade a reader's interpretation of a piece of writing? And how does theme and motif impact our reading? Alright, let's start off with activity 1 and 2. We're going to be reading The Jaunt by Stephen King. Now, Stephen King's writing does have a large amount of adult language, so if you are not comfortable with that content, please make sure that you contact me. I will gladly find you a different story to read. We will be breaking it apart into 2 parts. Part 1 of the Ed Puzzle that has a PDF along with a worksheet, and Part 2 that is in Ed Puzzle. The PDF is the same, and there is a worksheet for Part 2. This is all found in Activities 1 and 2 for Week 11. We have creative writing this week. Every week we have creative writing. There are 4 different prompts for you to choose from that you should complete with about 10 sentences. So you could write a story about someone posting a video on social media that goes viral. You could write about one day the sun rose in the west and then set in the east. You could write a story about someone who is working from home and constantly getting distracted by their pet, or write a story about someone who finds a magical portal in their home. Activities 3 and 4. We have some short stories that you can choose from for this week, so you can either read Abraham's Boys or The Specialist's Hat. Now, when it comes to Abraham's Boys by Joe Hill, this story has some adult topics and adult language. If you are not comfortable with graphic content, particularly about the human body and disfigurement, this is not going to be a story for you. This also has some adult language in it, so if that makes you uncomfortable, I recommend reading The Specialist's Hat instead, which is why I'm giving you the choice for this activity. So Abraham's Boys is one of the options. Both stories have 2 different discussions. So part 1 is that you need to interpret either The Specialist's Hat by Kelly Link or Abraham's Boys by Joe Hill from a literary lens perspective. So that means either new critical, gender lens, classist lens, or psychological lens. You need to tell me what lens you are using and what elements of the story do you see in connection to this lens that support your interpretation. That is a minimum of 10 sentences, and then you will respond to one other student. Part 2 of the discussion is: what form of monster do you believe is existent within the story? Do you believe it is occurring within the short story The Specialist's Hat or Abraham's Boys, and explain your reasoning using evidence from the text, with a minimum of 10 sentences and responding to one other student. The Specialist's Hat does not contain any kind of graphic language or graphic content per se. This story is a lot more about imagery and about character building than it is about initial scares or gore. So if you are trying to avoid that kind of content, The Specialist's Hat is definitely for you by Kelly Link. We have read stories by Kelly Link before, such as The Fairy's Handbag. Part 1 is still the same discussion that you are interpreting the story from a literary lens perspective, and Part 2 is still what form of monster do you think exists in the story. Our last activity is Activity 5, which is silent reading for this week. You should read 90 minutes every week. You can break that apart, and you can read anything of your choice that is outside of our regular curriculum. Our discussion is what elements of foreshadowing are you discovering within your own book, and how does your author keep you as a reader in suspense? You should comment on one other student's discussion post about what they are reading. Those are all of our assignments for week 11. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. If you are unsure as far as how to complete the assignments, please make sure that you contact me. And also, please make sure that you check your grades. Marking period 1 has closed, but there could be something that is not showing up correctly in the grade book. And so I would prefer that if you notice any kind of irregularity, that you contact me as soon as possible prior to report cards being published on the 18th of November. So if you could make sure that you check your grades, that would be much appreciated. Alrighty guys, I will talk to you later. I hope you all stay happy and healthy. Bye.